Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly profound insight from the acclaimed author and thinker, Robert Greene. We're going to look closely at a situation that, let's be honest, almost all of us have experienced, when someone does something out of nowhere that really hurts you. Okay, picture this. You're in a routine meeting, just going over some standard numbers, and bam, out of nowhere, a colleague just snaps at you. They raise their voice, demean your work right in front of everyone, and just leave you completely stunned. In that moment, it is incredibly tempting to view the outburst as just an isolated incident, right? We tell ourselves, maybe they're just having a bad day, or maybe they're under pressure at home, or it was just a momentary lapse in judgment. But Greene argues something entirely different, and frankly, it's a bit unsettling. He posits that these supposedly isolated bad behaviors are actually part of a much larger, deeply ingrained psychological pattern. So let's dive into the fallacy of the one-time event and why you should absolutely never look at a single bad action in a vacuum.
So let's look at the immediate aftermath of that incredibly relatable scenario. After someone treats you poorly or does something just objectively mean, they almost always follow it up with this classic, comforting apology. They'll pull you aside and give you the old, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that." This phrase, as Greene points out, is explicitly designed to disarm you. It functions exactly like a pressure release valve. It's designed to make you feel like the hostility you just experienced wasn't real, or at the very least, wasn't intentional. Essentially, they want to instantly erase the bad behavior from the record by framing it as a total accident, just a slip of the tongue that absolutely doesn't reflect who they really are.
And they usually don't stop at just one apology. They frequently stack these excuses to build a stronger defense. They'll pivot to saying things like, "That isn't me, something came over me." When you really break it down, this is a fascinating psychological pivot. They are literally claiming that they acted entirely out of character, like some mysterious, uncontrollable outside force possessed them to act that way. By claiming "that isn't me," they're attempting to surgically separate their core identity from the mean action they literally just committed. They are desperately trying to convince you that this was just a total fluke, a bizarre anomaly that you should just forgive and forget so you can both move on without any messy consequences.
Now, this is where we usually get caught between a comforting myth and a harsh reality. We desperately want to believe the claim that it was just a one-time thing. I mean, this is exactly what the person yelling at you wants you to believe, and honestly, it's kind of what we want to believe too, because it's just easier to digest. It keeps the peace. But the reality Greene presents here is much colder, yet totally necessary to understand. It is always part of a pattern. Greene is urging us to stop looking at the surface-level excuse and start looking at the deeper architecture of their actions. The bad behavior, it's not a sudden glitch in their system. It's a fundamental feature of their programming.
So the absolutely crucial point Greene makes, and he does not mince words here, is this. Never, it is absolutely never the case that someone acts completely out of character just once when they do something majorly toxic or mean to you. I know, we naturally like to give people the benefit of the doubt. We're wired to be forgiving. But Greene is drawing a hard, non-negotiable line in the sand here. The idea of the one-time major offense, it's a complete illusion. If they have the capacity to act that way toward you once, the mechanism for that behavior already exists, fully formed, right there, within them.
So instead of a random fluke, human behavior operates on deeply established loops. What we are really talking about here is a pattern. A reliable, repeating cycle of behavior. This is literally the cornerstone of understanding human psychology. People build habits for dealing with the world, and those habits prove that people never ever do something just once. When that colleague snaps at you in the meeting, you're really just witnessing a single data point in a very long established sequence. This is simply how they operate. It's their default mechanism for handling stress or navigating conflict. It's a structured behavioral habit that has been reinforced over time, not some random occurrence that just sprung out of thin air.
Let's break down the actual mechanics of this cycle so we can see exactly how it traps us. It operates in a highly predictable three-step loop. Step 1 is the bad behavior itself. They yell, they demean, they act out. Step 2 is the excuse. They look at you with those wide, apologetic eyes and say, "It isn't me, I didn't mean that." And then, tragically, comes step 3, the inevitable repeat. Because here's the thing, that empty apology in step 2 doesn't actually fix the root cause of the behavior. It just resets the board. It placates you just enough to lower your defenses, perfectly setting the stage for the exact same bad behavior to happen all over again, the very next time they feel stressed out.
And because it is an ingrained pattern, Greene tells us exactly what the future holds. They are going to do it again and again and again. It's a repeating drumbeat that you can essentially set your watch to. Once you finally recognize that the first incident wasn't an isolated event, well, the inevitable repetition becomes entirely predictable. They're going to keep running the exact same script on you because Despite their heartfelt apologies and claims that it isn't them, it actually is exactly who they are. The behavior is the truth, the apology is just the cover-up. So what does this all mean? This brings us to a major pivot in our explainer. It prompts us to take a step back from the immediate hurt of the yelling or the mean behavior and ask a much deeper question. What does this behavior actually reveal? If we strip away all the apologies and the empty excuses, and we just look at the raw, repeating loop of their actions over time, what's really being uncovered about the people involved in this dynamic?
Green points out a fascinating dual revelation here. First off, it obviously reveals something profound about them. The repeating pattern exposes the true character of the perpetrator. It highlights their lack of emotional control, their reliance on toxic habits to manage stress, and, ultimately, the total emptiness of their apologies. But crucially, and this is where it gets really interesting, it also reveals something about you, because you are the other half of this equation. You are the one receiving the bad behavior, hearing the excuse, accepting it, and then sticking around to experience the repeat.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought, directly inspired by Green's final point. What does your acceptance of someone else's pattern reveal about you? If they act out, apologize, and do it again, and you stay in that loop, what does that actually say about your own boundaries? What does it say about your self-worth and what you truly believe you deserve in your relationships? Understanding this fallacy of the one-time event isn't just about analyzing their bad behavior. It is ultimately about taking a hard, honest look at your own limits and deciding what you will no longer tolerate. Thanks for joining me on this one, and